Hello and welcome. In this video, we're focusing on how wheel trades actually surface inside Thinkorswim. This is a beginner lesson, not because it's simple, but because we're intentionally keeping things at the surface level. We're building familiarity and process first. The depth comes later. With that said, this video is for educational purposes only and is not financial advice. Always do your own research and understand the risks before investing. Today is about workflow, not finding the perfect trade, not predicting price, and definitely not memorizing settings. I want you to see where things live and how they connect so later videos make sense. I want to be really explicit here. We're skipping a lot on purpose. If you're wondering why didn't he explain that, the answer is we will, just not today. There's a lot here, and you don't need to master it today. If this feels like a lot, it is, and that's normal. We're building familiarity first. Depth comes later. These guardrails matter. They keep beginners from over-optimizing too early and blowing up their process. We're not trying to be clever here. We're trying to be repeatable. We're not relitigating fundamentals today. These companies already passed that filter earlier in the series. The goal here is to remove unnecessary risk while learning the tools. I'm keeping Netflix here intentionally, not because it's perfect, but because it shows reality. Trades don't always resolve neatly, and I want you to see how I think while things are still in progress. Think of this as reconnaissance. You're learning the terrain, not taking the test yet. If you forget everything except the flow, that's a win. Okay, we are in Thinkorswim, and you'll notice it's showing all accounts. Let's switch this to IRA. And you'll notice the buying power dropped from 100,000, and we haven't actually bought anything. And the reason why is because we replaced the NVIDIA cash secured put, and what that cash secured means that if we're obligated to buy it at the expiration date, then they set aside that money. So that's 100 shares at $180. That's $18,000. So they set aside the money for us to be able to make that obligation. If you look at net liquidation, it's still at 100,000 because it's taking into account that money it's setting aside. Okay, let's start with the watch list. You can remove some of these, but to put a watch list or any of these gadgets, you add one. You'll have some choices. Select watch list, and it comes up with the default. So we can create watch list, and then I'm going to call this one Magnificent 7. And the reason why I put 1 is because it shows it alphabetically with numbers first, and then I can add symbols here. So Apple, and you just type it in, Meta, Microsoft, Google, and I put both Googles, NVIDIA, Amazon, and Netflix. So you save that, and now that shows up here. Now that we have the watch list built and it's showing over here, let's go over to scan. Stock Hacker is fine for single leg trades. Option Hacker is better for multi-leg trades. So we want to add a filter and an option filter. So you notice these are stock filters, so we can just delete these out. And it'll give you the fields for options like days to expiration. Now I'm setting it from 19 to 45. That keeps me in a window where options have meaningful decay, but still give me time to manage the trade if I need to. So add another filter, option. Next I'm setting delta. Delta is doing most of the probability work here. So I'm going to be putting negative 0.41 and then max blank. Now I'm adding in volume for this option trade at a minimum of 20. Max is not necessary. This is just a liquidity check. I want to know that this option actually trades so I can get in and, more importantly, get out if I need to. This doesn't improve returns, it just reduces friction. And the last filter is going to be covered return with a minimum of 30, and that's a percent. This keeps me from selling for trades that don't compensate me enough for the risk and the time involved. This is a quality filter, not a prediction. If you're new, don't worry about copying these numbers exactly. The important thing is understanding what each filter is responsible for. That's it. 4 filters, no over optimization. So let's save the scan, and I'm just going to call it 1 CSP options wheel. So now you'll see it up here. Okay, so we're in the scan tab. We have it loaded. Let's make sure to load personal and the CSP options wheel that might have been off screen. But you can see it, the scan here. We're going to scan in weeklies as opposed to stocks that only have monthly options, just because weekly has more liquidity and volume. And then I'm going to intersect this with our personal Magnificent 7, and then we're not excluding anything, but you could have a watch list of stock that you absolutely don't want to trade and put it in here. At this point, we normally run the scan. There's a known limitation with paper money where option-based scans don't reliably return results. So I'm going to run this exact same scan in the live environment just to generate the list, and then we'll come right back here. Okay, so here we are. We're in the live environment to get the options data. You'll see I have it loaded here. It's just named a little bit differently. But we're going to go to scan in, and we're going to want weeklies. These are stocks with weekly options. The one with only monthly options are not as liquid. And then we're going to intersect it with our Magnificent 7 watch list. And you'll see the parameters are all the same here. We have here stocks and options, sorted by symbol, ascending, and we can change these later. Scan. So let's go ahead and take a screenshot of this. Get back to the paper money environment. So here's a screenshot of the scan results. We have Netflix, Nvidia. Let's take a look at those 3 stocks on the charts. So we click on charts. This might be the default view, but I'm going to do some configuration changes to make this useful for me. I like to have some studies, so we can click on studies. You can add a study. I like to just do it through the edit studies. So Bollinger Bands, it's the first one. Add selected, and then apply. I'm going to add some more, and you can see it populate in the background. I'm going to add some more, it's just CCI. And we'll talk about these briefly in a moment. Add selected. And then LBR 310 oscillator. And the MACD histogram. Okay, that's what my chart looks like. It does look a little bit busy. We can clean this up a bit. We can put this volume up in the chart itself, and you would just click on the gear icon for settings, and then overlap volume. So when you see apply, it jumps up with a chart screen. And then if you look at this and say this is distracting me, you can change the color again with the same thing, settings, but this time it's going to be an appearance. And this is the volume bars, so we can change that color and just pick one close to black, and that makes it more subdued and not as distracting, but you can see the volume in the background. I'm going to move this over to get more real estate. The 3 you see down here in the bottom are momentum indicators. All 3 are telling the same story, just at different speeds. I'm not trading from these indicators. I'm just looking for agreement or disagreement. If they broadly agree, I'm comfortable. If they don't, I slow down or pass. This is about context, not prediction. I like Bollinger Bands because it kind of gives me what the range of movement is in a trading day, and it fairly respects it. You'll see some instances where it goes below, but for the most part, it respects these bands. They're not predictive, they just give me context. I'm not trading touches of the bar, I'm just using them as reference. Think of these as fast, medium, and slow lenses on momentum. There are 3 different speeds. If you want to put these in order, I can show you how to do that by going into Studies, Edit Studies. You can see volume is now up here with a price chart, and you just move them up and down. CCI is the fastest. MACD histogram is the second. and that puts Linda Bradford-Ashkey at the bottom. So this just helps filter out some of the noise and helps confirm the broader momentum context. All three are telling the same story, just at different speeds. I'm not trading from these indicators, I'm just looking for agreement or disagreement, and then hit apply, and then OK. Oh, I joined two of these together. Edit study. Oh, so move this down here. Apply, OK. LBR is the slowest of the three. It filters out noise and helps confirm the broader momentum context. This is about context, not prediction. We'll break each of these down properly in future videos. Today, I just want you to recognize what you're seeing. Okay, the three that we're looking at is Netflix, Nvidia, and Tesla. So let's put Netflix. So it looks like they're in a downswing. So let's take a look at these trades, starting with Netflix. And we can see Netflix is in a downswing. Momentum is weaker here, and price has been moving lower. That doesn't make it a good or bad trade. It just means if I sell a put here, I'm doing it with the expectation that I may have to manage or wait. This is what a recovery style wheel trade can look like. Okay, moving on to Nvidia. Nvidia is clearly in an upswing. Since we already used Nvidia in the previous trade, I'm going to skip it here so we're not reusing the same example. Nothing wrong with it, I just want variety. And Tesla has been moving up, but you can see momentum starting to cool off. It's pulling back from recent strength. This is more of a transition zone, not clearly strong and not clearly weak either. I'm not looking for perfect, I just want one reasonable candidate that fits our guardrails. For today, I'm going to go with this one. Not because it's the best stock, but because it fits our process. So here's a tracker. We can see the Tesla expires January 16th, and we opened it today, December 24th. It was $484.30 when we entered it in. Strike of $475. We were paid $1,500, and you can see it's close to 50%, which is said in the scan. Let's go to our portfolio, and here it is, Tesla, same trade, $15.25 credit, $475 put, and expires January 16 in 23 days. We can see our Nvidia trade is doing well at almost 35% profit, and I'm intentionally skipping over this because we're saving trade management and outcomes for Gym 111. Okay, that wraps up Gym 108. We found a trade using Thinkorswim scan and Watchlists. And if you take nothing else away from this video, take this. We're building a process that survives boredom, noise, and bad weeks. That's how this strategy works over time. As always, trade the plan, not the panic. See you in the gym.